Hello, good morning, and welcome to our first OnAir Fireside session with MicroStation for 2024. I'm Azhar Wasim, the product sales consultant for building and plant products with Bentley Systems. And today we have with ourselves Crystal Shura, who is our guest speaker, Maria Centesturian, who will be leading this session, and my colleague Bartolome Zimmerman. So I think I'll hand over the screen to Maria. Maria, please
Mhm,
take over. The session is yours now.
mhm. So thank you very much, Atsar. And good morning, everybody here, and welcome to our fireside chat this year. The topic is creating 3D models from 2D GIS data files. And this is a live event, so please feel free to communicate with us. You can ask questions in the comment section. And for those who cannot attend the live session, the recording will be available on demand. And of course, stay tuned for the next sessions. There are new interesting topics coming up. And joining us today is Krister Sorel. Hi, Krister.
Hello, hi.
And he's owner and consultant at Sorel Consulting and has 35 years of experience in IT. Would you like to introduce yourself, Krister, and tell us about your company?
Yeah, sure. I have a company, as you said, called Surreal Consulting, and I've been working with MicroStation and Bentley software for about 35 years, working at resellers, and I've also been working at Bentley Sweden, where I was responsible for the municipality customers. So I worked with a lot of mapping GIS data and worked a lot of with software development, but now I have a slight focus to training and helping companies making the most out of the Bentley software.
Good, thank you. And so, Atzar already introduced himself, and I'm Maria Sanchez Tuñón. I have more than 20 years of experience in infrastructure projects, and I have worked also as hydrology specialist, so using GIS a lot. And I come from Spain. I lived in UK, and now I'm based in Munich, where I joined Bentley as product sales engineer for MicroStation, open plants, and open buildings. And now we are speaking about MicroStation. So the main purpose of MicroStation is to enable users to deliver innovative design and creative visualization and consolidate critical project elements in a single environment for effective and secure project deliverables. The three key capabilities provided by MicroStation to add real value to your projects are model anything anywhere, read and consolidate anything, and report everything to inform everyone. And today's topic is related to geolocation, so GIS data. So model anything anywhere, and also about presenting the information. So report everything to inform everyone is also involved. And now it's your turn, Krister.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'll be touching all three of those headlines actually. And I didn't say, but I'm from Sweden. I'm located in Stockholm. And what I'm going to talk about today is to bring in GIS data into MicroStation, because MicroStation is a great software to bring in different kind of data, no matter what other software that had been creating them. But today we'll be focused on GIS data. So the purpose for this presentation is to bring in some flat 2D GIS data in the form of shape files, which is a very common format to share data in the GIS world. And we will use this data to create a 3D model that we could be using for presentation and analyzing or planning purposes. And we will doing this without modeling anything. So a couple of tricks to bring this flat 2D data into something much more interesting. And if we have a couple of minutes over in the end, we might also try to make it into something like this. So from flat 2D data into something that looks really nice and you can use for different kind of presentations. So let's move over to MicroStation. So now we're in an empty file in MicroStation, and I'm going to start by bringing in some shape files. So I'll go to the attach tools, which we bring in background data, and I will select a number of shape files that will constitute a base map. And these are geolocated, so I will reproject them to the current transformation in the file that I'm working in. And if we just have a short look, we can see that you could actually bring in data in many other different formats as well, a mapping for GIS or different 3D formats, SketchUp, 3D Studio, and so. But we will be working with shapefile for this
So MicroStation support more than 70 different formats. So
yeah, it's great. So we bring in all the files, and since this is a live presentation, it takes a couple of seconds. So now we're here, and we brought in all the data into MicroStation. And I will actually merge this into the current file because it will be a bit quicker when we do the presentations. Otherwise, we could have had them as references for all the presentation. Maybe the data would update, and then we would see the actual live updates. But now we merge them into the file. So for this presentation, everything will be in the current file. Okay. So the data is now in the file. This is GIS data. So the data has attributes attached to them. So if we zoom in and select the building, for example, that building will have data. Okay, this is Swedish data, so you won't be understanding so much, but anyway, you can see that it's actually attributes, and on the pipes, water pipes, there are also dimensions and materials and that kind of stuff attached. I also said that this was geolocated, so let's see where we are. I will turn on an aerial Bing map in the background, so we could actually see where we are, and we could see that the
so
building.
this is also important about.
Yes, sorry, Maria.
So this is also important about MicroStation 2023, that it has direct access to Bing maps and also to the Esri server, so with the GIS information.
Yeah, so this is Sweden. Stockholm is around here, and we're a bit north of Stockholm for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So I will turn off the background map now that we know where we are. And as you said, bringing files like we did here is one way to bring in data into MicroStation, but you could also bring in data from the web, from different Esri sources, raster sources, or vector data like feature services. I was trying to find a good data set to bring in here, but it wasn't very much because this is a very small city. But there were actually some weather stations, so I could bring in web feature service data over weather stations. So I connect to a web server, and it responds and say what kind of data it has over this area, and those are active weather stations. So I could connect to this, and I could query, and it will read data over this area, the area we see in this view right now. So if I say query, you see it popped up a couple of sites here, and this could be shapes or lines or whatever. This was just a couple of an example of point data that we could bring in from other sources. So right now we see this data in the way that I configured the layers to be in if we look at the colors and so. But then other great thing about MicroStation is that you could choose how to display your data using the attributes of your elements. So I can re-symbolize this in many different ways for presentations and analyzing using something called display rules. So right here we have something called display rules. And if we want to look at this data and focus on the pipe dimensions, where do we have the bigger pipes, the smaller pipes, I could just change to another display rule. And now we see where we have the main pipes coming into this area and yet smaller pipes and the smallest pipes going into the parcels and buildings. Or we could have anything else. Valve status. So the water valves could be either on or off. And right now it's nothing happens, so I don't know why. We go over to the building size instead. So we could re-symbolize this and use the attributes connected to the data to see where we have buildings of different size, but it could be anything. So this display rules is a really good tool to present your data for different purposes. So I'll go back to none and just look at the data the way the layers says are defined. And just the fact that we have attributes connected to data opens up for different kinds of possibilities. We could report on them. We could also search. So I could open up a tool called Explorer, which consolidates all the information in the file in one place. So I could, perhaps I want to search for building of a certain ID or something. I could add the buildings and the building IDs, and we could search for some ID and it will find buildings. And if I turn on the zoom tool, it will also immediately zoom to that building, or we take another one.
So we can query also in the GIS information.
Yeah, absolutely. So this, it uses all the information that was brought in from the GIS files. Okay, but the purpose of this presentation was actually to bring this 2D data up to a 3D file or 3D model that we could use for other purposes, because this data is actually flat. So if I look at it from the front, it's super flat. That's the way the shape files are made. So we go back to top. So what I want to do is to start by replacing the point data with 3D cells. Cells are predefined symbols that you could use to create your map. Those could be 2D or 3D. And in this case, we're in a 3D file, so we could use 3D cells for trees, for manholes, for lamp posts, or different kind of data. And the point data in this file are actually trees, lamp posts, manholes, and wells. So if we start with the trees, we could do it in different ways in MicroStation. We could export this point data to text file and then import them again. And during import, we could replace those points with 3D cells. But an even faster way is, in this case, I'm going to use an open source tool that you can download from the web. It's a VBA tool. VBA is also built into MicroStation, so you can create your own tools or automate the different workflows. So I will just select all the elements on the tree level and replace them with a tree cell. So select everything on the tree level, replace those points with 3D cell. So something happened. We could just rotate this view to see that now we actually have tree data here. And I could move over to more shaded view as well, because this is a wireframe. We could use illustration. So, okay, first step done. We now created some 3D trees. I will turn off the ground level here. So we could do the same thing now for the lamp post, for example, and the manholes and the wells. But instead of you looking at me replacing all this kind of data, I will just move over to a file where I already replaced the data to save some time. So we go to this file, remove this one. So it's exactly the same file. Oh, apart from that, I went one step ahead of myself. I think now, okay. Something always has to. Wait, I'm going to replace them in the file. So bear with me for a couple of seconds, and I'll replace the lamp posts. So I do that. A bit outside the area here, so somewhere they are. We're going to find, yeah.
Yes, there.
Lamp posts, and we could take the wells as well. They are on. I think I'll use those. And a second. So now we got the manholes as well, and I think we could settle there. So okay, now we turned all the point data into 3D data. That's great. The next step is to bring the buildings into 3D buildings as well, and we could do that in different ways. In this case, if we have a look at the buildings and the property data, okay, you don't understand Swedish, just rely that there is no information here on the height of the building. It's just the way it is. So I'm just gonna take some general height for the buildings. And we could, of course, bring up all the buildings to the same height, or we could select buildings of different types. So we could, for example, take residential buildings and put them on one height, and the smaller buildings on a lower height, and official buildings on a bigger height, just to make it a bit more interesting. So I could use this Explorer again to search for residential buildings. And you see something got selected in the view. So now I selected just the residential buildings, and I will extrude them to some height. So, and like this, now all the residential buildings are up to some height, and we could take some of the smaller ones as well and go for a slightly lower height on those. So, okay, I'll turn this over to illustration again, since I had to go. Oh, it's. Oh, okay. It's. I think this layer is has some transparency on. No. Yeah, okay, better. I had a display roof that changed the appearance of the buildings a bit. But okay, so now we actually have something that it's much more interesting, and we could, in this at this stage, also use this for perhaps a presentation. You're planning to build something new here, and this gives you context to what you're going to do. Perhaps you want to build some giant skyscraper in the middle here, and you want to put that in a context. So, okay, my command line ended up just behind the. I move over here instead. I'll just draw something big in the middle here. Oh, so now we're going to build a super high skyscraper here. And how will this affect the surroundings? We could actually change the display style, so we'll see illustration shadows, and then we could see how the shadows will affect the surroundings. And if we want to, we could go over to the visualization tab and change the time of day. And it always ends up on some of the screens. So here we are. And here we have the time of day. So this should... Okay, it doesn't. Who knows why? That's the purpose of doing live demonstrations. Anyway, we settled with one time of day, and the people living in this direction won't be too happy if they're going to build this big one here. But you could use this, and you can actually record solar studies in MicroStations. You could record a little movie and see how the shadows will fall during the day, which is a great way to see how new buildings will affect the surroundings. Mm-hmm. And now that we are in the visualization workflow, it's also possible to raise this and make it even more interesting by assigning different materials to the ground and the house and the trees. So we could actually move over to a file where I put some materials on the trees and on the ground. And this is still the same file. We haven't done any modeling. We just replaced some points with 3D cells and raised the buildings. And now we have a file that's could be used. And there we actually have the big, super big skyscraper. That
much more interesting to show.
Yeah. And you could see that we have the pipes underground. So I just lowered those half a meter or so. And this is something that you could really use if you want to present an idea or something else. We could also turn on some background data, so we have it like this. And as I told you in the beginning, we could actually take this even a step further. Right now, we replace them with cells that are quite schematic, but there are tree cells delivered with MicroStation that are much more real. So if we do this one instead, I replace them with some other trees. They look kind of okay here, but the reason I used those cells is those are compatible with an other software that is delivered with MicroStation, and it's great for doing visualizations, and it's called Luminar T. Mm-hmm. So I could start that software from within MicroStation, and it will take this file that I'm in right now and open up this software Luminar T, and it will take a couple of minutes because the computer is as old as I am. but
No,
just
but also being live, it takes some time.
it's a lot of trees, and these tree cells are optimized to work within Luminar T. And Luminar T is a much easier way to do visualization and presentations, and you can change the day, the time of day or the time of year, and you can add more content to the files, like files or people, and so it's a great tool if you want to bring that data a step further. And still, we haven't done any modeling. We just gone from the 2D data, we replaced some cells, we extruded the houses, and that's it. So it's very easy, and I did it as we run the demo. So okay, come on.
It always happens, yes.
Yeah. But any day now. And it takes twice as long when you do the presentation. Okay, here we are.
Good.
So this, of course, looks much nicer, and I could have an overview of this area. And there are also a lot of materials and informations you have in Luminar T that could enhance your file even more. So I placed a couple of cars here, and this is super great because you could also, as I told you, change the time of day very easily. So
it looks amazing. Yes,
it's like running a game or something where you could just work and so it's still those GIS 2D shapes that we just brought up and made some buildings of, and those trees are just the points that we brought in, and we also have the wells and manholes and everything else in the file. So I think MicroStation is a super great tool to bring in different kinds of data that you need, because in all bigger projects there are files in different formats that you have to bring in. You just don't have design files. You have to deal with a lot of other file formats as well. And this is just a small demonstration on what you could actually do. So I think that concludes what I wanted to present today.
Was interesting.
And
Very interesting.
Leave it up to you, Maria. Yeah.
So, Tsar, can you change to my screen?
Yes. What a great presentation, Krista.
So, as Krister said, there is no better summary to describe the MicroStation capabilities than saying that it's the perfect data integrator. So we spoke about MicroStation modeling capabilities, but assuming that there is a lot of data and geometry flying around, the best way to create your final project model is integrate. Integrating what you model and define with MicroStation together with external data your colleagues and partners are creating to produce the final picture of the project and feed the stakeholders with the data they need, via drawings, reporting, or even digital twins. And if you want to learn more about MicroStation, so we have our Bentley website, Twitter, and YouTube channel also. And also we have Bentley communities and YouTube channel, so you can learn step by step and you can have plenty of information there. And I think it's also written under our presentation, but if you want to get a free trial, you can scan this QR and you will get a 14-day free trial, a license for you, as if you want to try the capabilities of MicroStation. And I would like to say also that related to Fireside Chat, our next one will be on the 24th April with 3 Delling, speaking about MicroStation capabilities working with point clouds. So with this first QR on the top, you can access the web with all the information related to the upcoming and previous sessions that are recorded. And also here in the second QR, you can have access to the upcoming webinars, and you can also watch the previous ones that have been recorded. Okay, and we have a discount campaign for MicroStation that has been extended till the end of March. So if you are using any other commercial CAD or BIM software, please contact us to receive the discount code. And here in this QR, there is a customized demo of the topics of MicroStation you are interested in. So scan the code if you want to have it. And here is our contact information. So please feel free to write us and we can talk about your project challenges. And I would like to finish saying thank you to all the guests. And Christer, thank you very much. It was engaging, I think, the presentation, and useful to present and to inform stakeholders, client, or your colleagues. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Krista. All right. So hopefully we'll see all of you in the next live session. And Maria's already shared the links. So please register yourself and see you later. Bye bye.
Bye, ciao. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.